Hey everyone, Anders here with another video. Today I'm going to give you a summary of everything that was announced at this year's Black Desert Calpheon Ball event. The new class has been revealed and she is called Seraph. It is a female Greatsword-wielding Ascension class that has a clavis as a sub-weapon, a Greatsword as her main weapon, and a Pergatum as her awakening weapon. Seraph is built around heavy linking skills that build into high damaging finishing hits. Her passive is a unique ability called Unshakeable Will, where her attack links are always saved. Essentially what this means, if your attack has say 4 hit animations, you can deal damage with the first attack animation, then dash, and then press RMB within 5 seconds to then use attack 2 of that same skill and use that animation. Repeating this over and over will basically allow you to dash around enemies and ensure you deal your final hit damage when you see an opening. She is technically the counterpart to the warrior class according to the developers. She has 2 BSR modes that act as minute-long unique buffs and not just typical BSR attacks. Sacramentum will allow you to have quick attacking styles and have a more angelic feel, while Pergatum are slower, more combo-based attacks and have a more demonic feel. You can think of them as basically choosing to be imbued with light or darkness for a period of time. Unlike other Ascension classes, Seraph doesn't actually swap weapons ever. Instead, we have these modes I laid out that allow you to make a choice between light and dark through that Black Spirit Rage mechanic every time you have enough BSR available. Now, according to the developers, she actually has no resource system like we're used to, and she's made to be more of a classic high skill ceiling class that allows faster combat, but also can require heavy cancels and skill inputs that may make the class a bit more complicated. Seraph has a grapple skill that's been confirmed, she has a block skill that's also been confirmed, and she is a damage reduction based class instead of an evasion class. Global Lab Update will have Seraph available right now, so you can check her out there. You can link your normal account with Global Lab to make it easier to download the test server, so check her out when you can, and expect Seraph to release next week on the 18th for global servers on PC. For console, you'll have to wait a bit longer to play Seraph. She will be releasing on the 8th of January for all consoles. They admit that because we have yet another Ascension class, they understand that can be a disappointment for many, but they believe Seraph was in their vision only viable with the Greatsword and the mechanics they showed us today, so they hope the class is fleshed out enough that we enjoy it. We'll see. Expect a first impressions video of Seraph later in the channel. For now, let's move on to the rest of the updates they talked about. The event focused really on improving content that we have and systems we already have in place. However, they did mention for PVE content, monster zones that were completely overhauled last summer that did improve overall progression for players. Average gear scores have risen at a rate faster than ever before. The player distribution to monster zones has also improved, but Ulukita is still incredibly popular despite players having higher than the needed GS for those areas. They want to change this so that those higher geared players move on to higher GS requirement zones, and they're still not satisfied with the current state of PvE because despite our progression being expedited, choice of PVE zones is still kind of minimal and has caused many players to grow tired or bored from the current progression system. Right now, where Edania Part 1 stops, top geared players have no real room to grow. They don't want to remove the AP caps because the majority of players are still far away from the highest AP requirement areas in Edania, so they have a few approaches to address this. First, they want to add a new monster zone for highly geared players. Requirements won't be higher than what we already have, but rather they're going to add new gear or items to grind for. 2 new zones are getting revamped and made into high tiered areas. Star's End and Sycraia Abyssal will be reformed into new higher tiered zones requiring 395 AP and 460 DP. The mechanics will also be improved for both of these areas. An all-new zone will also be added, 380 AP and 440 DP requirements, and it's going to be a party monster zone. 3 players are recommended. Dehkia Upper Gyfenrasia and Dehkia Miramak Ruins party zones have also been announced and will be released. For Dehkia Gyfenrasia, you will need 370 AP and 440 DP, and for Dehkia Miramak Ruins, you'll need 350 AP and 427 DP. Zevros monster zones alongside the new Sycraia and Stars End areas will remain the top tier grind spots for now. Exclusive drops will only come from these top tier zones that will hopefully make them the highest profit areas in the game. Corrupt Oil of Immortality will now drop from these top tier areas, and the other item will be an exclusive material drop that allows you to change the color of your Sovereign and Edania glow effects. There are two colors ready at the moment, red and purple. Red is only for Sovereign weapons, while the purple dye will also change Edania armor. The dyes will additionally change the design of your Sovereign weapons. The dye material can be sold on the market as well. Gathering them will take some effort, but they promise more colors are in the works. However, it will take some time as they make sure the quality is up to par to the normal glow effects. Next, they want to improve benefits and support for players who are still in mid-progression. Technically, these benefits are available to everyone, but these were made mostly for mid-progression players. Challenge rewards for reaching certain AP is being reintroduced to the game, so as you reach a set number of AP, you will now obtain a Choose Your Hammer box. 20 total boxes will be given as you progress from 340 AP to 380 AP. If you do not need these hammers, you can also choose a 1000 Cron Stone reward each time. If you already meet the requirements for these rewards, you will also be able to obtain them all at once after this goes live. If you are below 340 AP, you will also get additional benefits. Cron Stones will now be given as rewards in more content. Pit of Undying is currently the only mode that gives us Cron Stones regularly, so they will add it to Dark Rifts, which will now give you 100 crons per kill. Ataraxion will also now give you 500 Cron Stones for clearing all 4 dungeons, and they say if you do all 3 types of content, you can now get 1,600 Cron Stones per week. Ataraxion will now only need to be cleared once a week, but will still give you the same amount of rewards as if you had cleared it twice. Normal Ataraxion will also now be removed. Olvia will be the only version available from now on, but will be renamed as the normal name of the Ataraxion dungeon, doing away with the Olvia label. They're also adding matchmaking for what used to be called the Olvia dungeons. They say if more Cron Stones are still needed for mid-progression, they will add it to more PvE content. Next, world boss revamps are being implemented for Land of the Morning Light bosses. Rewards are being increased, and they're also lowering the amount of spawns. Every time you clear Land of the Morning Light bosses, you will also now be getting rewards every single time. That means no more weekly restrictions. Garmith will remain the same for now. Tent buffs and church buffs are being changed into single buff scrolls you can buy and then use later if you wish. Price will be the same as if you purchased all single buffs together. Fairy Continuous Care auto use limit is also being improved at every single level, not just the 5th level. Primordial Blackstones can now also be converted into fail stacks. You'll need 170 stones for a 200 fail stack. A loot report feature is finally being added. This was available in Global Lab only, but from now on, whenever you enter the Marni realm on live servers, it's going to record how long you've been grinding and how much loot you gain. Additionally, it will save your gear score, your class, and the loot amount, which will also be saved in perpetuity. So as you get stronger, you can compare how you're improving in those grind spots. Alchemy Stone enhancing is also getting improved. Resplendent Alchemy Stones can now be combined with Vel's Heart to form a new version that retains the AP effect of Vel, but keeps the substats of the high-grade Alchemy Stone. Altar of Blood is also finally returning. Altar of Blood is a 3-player wave defense PvE mode. Clear each stage to move on to the next one. 300 AP is recommended for the first stage. It does not need high DP according to the developers, but 5 additional AP is recommended through each level, with a total of 30 stages implemented with this revamp. You will receive rewards for each stage you clear, as well as a weekly reward for the highest stage you reach. You will also be able to replay any stage you have already cleared that week to help your guildmates and friends get through Altar of Blood. Origin of Dark Hunger will be one of the main rewards, and it is set to release in March of next year. Now for PvP, they talked about how DP builds can be difficult to balance and can be a problem in Node Wars. Essentially, the DP rock meta will be nuked in some form, but they're still testing the effects of their changes on the global lab, and they will continue testing before it hits live servers. Once those get updated on the global lab, I'll detail each change on the global lab video later in the channel. They said Node War motivation for participation population is declining across the board. Their plan is to add new Node War regions, new rules will also be added, and new rewards will be implemented. Ulukida and Edania will now be Node War zones. Edania will have no restrictions. Tier 1 will now be Balanos and Serendia, Tier 2 will be Valencia and Ulukida, and Tier 3 will be Calpheon and Edania. No more Camasilvia and Medaya Node Wars. For rules and occupation, if 5 guilds join, all of them will now be in a single Node War together. If 6 or more join, they will have at least 3 guilds per Node War. If the last remaining fort has 10 minutes or less, it will become a question mark. Construction Node Wars will now be 2 hours long. Occupation stays at 1 hour. Rewards remain the same. Pings can now be placed on the world map and be seen by your alliance members. Damage from injury will now be calculated from capped HP and not max HP. For placing forts, you can see if the spot is valid before placing. Cannon teams can now have their own chat category. Killstreak notifications will be added for Node and Conquest wars. They're also improving rewards and reworking the medal system. Secret Scroll of Equilibrium is being included as one of the new exchanges. New titles for roles like Cannon Operator are being added as well, but you won't be able to exchange your old medals for the new items. They will also be reworking Node War results again to show more data like we have in Guild League. With richer information, they hope to help motivate players who may not always show up according to their efforts in each Node War. For Conquest, being an offensive attacker is almost impossible unless you have a large alliance right now, and while on defense, you usually get overwhelmed by numbers, so it's not worth even defending. They admitted because of the structure, Conquest is pretty much dead content in a lot of regions. For attackers, they want to reduce the need for alliances, and for defenders, they want to make the fight feel more meaningful. To try and improve the experience, once a command post is destroyed, Conquest will end, and the winner will be the guild with the highest number of points. And for defenders, you will now be able to make annex buildings anywhere in the castle, so you can place recovery centers away from cannon fire and shield them as you wish. This will hopefully allow defenders the flexibility to defend in a stronger manner and hold out longer. The longer you're able to hold out, the greater rewards you will get from now on. Attackers will also split the reward according to the duration and intensity of their efforts with other guilds. Balanos, Serendia, Medaya, and Valencia will now be the exclusive conquest regions. Siege mechanic conquest will only be done in Medaya and Valencia. Calpheon has been removed from conquest. Balanos and Serendia will remain with the free-for-all conquest format. Moving forward, occupation buffs will apply to all zones, 30% for the siege regions, 20% for Balanos and Serendia conquest. Moving on to Red Battlefield, less and less players are actually engaging with RBF these days, so matchmaking will be improved by doing away with the whole channel system. It's now going to work exactly like Arena of Solare. All you need to do is queue up for RBF and you're set. However, to get rewards, you now need minimum contribution. We don't know the full details. It's going to be shown in Global Lab later on, but they say if this works out and RBF becomes more popular, they'll go ahead with a revamp of honor points and focus on cumulative rewards for players who consistently play Red Battlefield. For Arena of Solare improvements, all ranks will now gain similar points per win, but losses will vary in points deducted. Higher ranks will need win rates over 50% to keep those higher ranks, and they're adding an MMR system that will get bonus score depending on where you rank. MVP and ace selection will change to improve the chances of getting MVP or ace by playing optimally. CC will now show the direction of where the enemy is, and voice comms will now be on listen mode at default so that everyone can listen to instructions should players not opt into comms. This should help communication at lower ranks. War of the Roses will also now be scaled down. Upper zones saw very little action despite having to actually capture them, so they're going to remove those, and they hope this will improve combat. They are also changing how Spirit's Blessing works. Monster DR is too strong, so they're going to cut that effect in half. The altar will now appear 45 minutes after the war starts instead of 15 minutes. They will also add a new protective effect to the commander. S1 or N1 will first need to be captured for that effect to be dispelled. If you don't have enough members to fill the spots, you can now set the remaining slots you need to be filled by the 3rd Legion. Team chat will also be activated 3 hours earlier so you can coordinate faster, and you can also now see 3rd Legion member info like their guilds on the list. They're also boosting rewards by giving more traces of Thunderbolt and medals to winners and 3rd Legion participants. Next, let's go over what they're doing for new players. Olvia Academy was recently introduced in the game. Olvia Academy will become a sort of essential guidance piece of content for new players who graduate from seasoned servers. This will allow you to learn the basics of the core game mechanics and also things like life skills. It will run on a class-based system, so if you enroll on the first class, you will receive an Academia outfit, which is the school uniform outfit, and the following class enrollment will take place on April 15th. For normal rewards, you're looking at 6,000 Cron Stones, a 250 fail stack, a Black Star Enhanced Stone that guarantees Pen Black Star, an additional Pen Black Star for free, additional Black Star Hammers, which are for Black Star only, which all should help you get Sovereign much easier than before. Each life skill class will also give you blue grade life skill gear and 1,000 Cron Stones each. Once the season ends, players who complete all the courses in Olvia Academy will obtain all of these rewards and more. Weekly quests will become available that offer additional rewards, and Olvia Academy will be released on the 7th of January in Korean servers. Magnus is also getting reworked. You now only need to finish the first quest to unlock all its benefits. The story is still available and will have colored titles added for motivation to actually complete it, but it will no longer be required for unlocking universal storage, getting that free pen armor, and using the teleport function. Naru gear is also being removed from the game. Tavala gear will now be the sole type of gear for season characters, and additionally the season restriction for items like Tavala will be removed. Timeful Blackstones will also be renamed to Timeful Fragments that can still be used for item exchange, but Tavala will now use normal Blackstones for enhancing from now on to simplify the gear progression system to new players. Guilds will be getting some improvements as well. A guild mission recharge system is being added. You can do up to 30 guild missions now, but each day you will get 10 recharges, accumulating up to 30, so you can stack them up over the weekday and then do them more on weekends when more players have time to actually log in. Guild boss rewards are also getting reworked. A big change is that war heroes will no longer be able to do guild bosses, and to compensate, rewards will be greatly increased. Paturum is also being removed. New bosses are getting added and moved closer together, so when you do your guild boss runs, it's more optimal and less time consuming. Additionally, when you spawn guild bosses, the location will become semi-instant in a way like Khan. Alliances are also getting changes. You can change the max size and ratio without actually disbanding the alliance. Guild crafting materials will also be improved. Only a few members were grinding the materials needed for things like war elephants, but now you can use shared guild funds to buy them from the guild shop or get them as drops from guild bosses instead of having to farm them yourself. Guild party platoon tab will be added to the Find Party Platoon UI. Guild buffs will be improved with a brand new UI. The old Node War benefit icon will be revamped, so you can see both Node War and guild skill buffs. Now when you use guild skill buffs, they will be guild wide, so all characters will be benefiting even if you're not online when those guild buffs are used. Guild history is also being improved. It's now called guild records. It's going to remember guild fight records, Node War records, and so on. However, it will only apply to events from when this update goes live. Family Fame Fund is getting more brackets as well. You can now get over 100 million silver per day from just this new Family Fame bracket. Life skills are getting some reworks as well. It will no longer be part of the core gear progression system according to developers, and to compensate, profits will be increased across the board. Byproducts are getting revamped so they drop more often with active life skills. They're trying to make other life skills to the level of fishing profits. Fishing is getting some minor changes today, but they're pretty happy with how much money we're getting from fishing, so don't expect further changes to fishing in the future. They say training can be a pain, so they're reworking how leveling works. For horses, you can auto path as normal and your horse will now store EXP. They won't level by themselves, and instead you can use that stored EXP to level the horse whenever you want. Level EXP variation will no longer exist, so you can level whenever you want and to whatever level you need. Mount coupons and skill swaps are also no longer needed to be used through a stable keeper NPC. You can just use them remotely like normal items. New breeds will be available in the wild. Krogdalo Sanctuary will now allow you to store up to any 5 horses regardless of the type they are. They can be normal horses, dream horses, mythical, any type counts. Moving the Krogdalo Sanctuary item will also now remote collect your stored horses as you move that item to other characters. This only works if you have a Celestial Calling Horn. Trade wagon capacity is being improved. Nostos Return Stone is a new treasure item that allows you to instantly travel to your residence. You can move to any manor or residence you designate as long as you use it with your campsite. The materials needed to make this item come strictly from the Gathering life skill, and these materials can also be sold on the market. For farming, harvest timers are being changed to 20-hour cycles instead of 5-hour cycles, but they are improving the rewards and EXP so you don't need to manage your crops as much. Fertilizers will be removed removed for now while they rework how they actually function. Barter level 2 trade goods are getting weight reduction by half. New barter routes are also being added to the new regions. Level 6 and level 7 barter goods are also getting added, but these new level goods cannot be transported via storage. New hunting zones are being added that can also give decorations and will require special mechanics. Fishing inland will now be closer to the profit you get from places like Valiant Beach. You can now sell the same species of fish in bulk, and manual fishing is also getting the auto discard by grade function that we already have for auto fishing. For quality of life updates, they're adding an instant character swap for tagged characters and faster swaps for characters in different locations with reduced loading times. They will try to release this function by March. You can now view other class skills from your own skill window. This will allow you to check other class skills without having to make that particular class or swap characters. You will now be able to see all of your mounts directly on the world map. Hotkeys are also being added to the world map UI, and you can set your own hotkeys for different functions. An all-in-one alert notification system is being added, and lastly, adventure logs are all now being combined into a single UI. For winter events, Snowfall Crashers is back with new additions. The event is more fleshed out and should provide users with multiple modes of entertainment. Each mode will have a ranking UI that will allow you to see ranked player runs and even challenge them in ghost mode. You can also now restart at the top of the mountain through the UI instead of having to make the trek back manually. Rewards will be shown at a later date. Snowfall Crashers comes out on the 24th of December. For new outfits, they said Show Visor will now be active during combat, and Spotlight is a brand new outfit they showcased. It is a K-pop idol group fashion style and releases on the 31st of December. Crimson Desert is set to launch in March of next year, and they will have special pre-order bonuses for Black Desert Online, including a mana item, a pet, and a horse armor that works for Kirkdallo, Mythical Ardenaut, and Ardenaut. Lastly, at the end of the event, we got a small teaser that seems to suggest we're getting a male gunner class. We know nothing outside of the lore drop that he is Deadeye's brother. That's all for the updates coming this month and in the first half of 2026. Expect a video later on the channel going over the Seraph skills and a summary of the global lab changes over the weekend. You can check all of these updates and more through the written summaries I have on my Discord, so check those out if you like. Let me know what you think about all of these announcements. Do you like what you saw of the new class? Let me know in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.